Going to jump right into it then. We're going to be talking again about winning business and driving conversion with referrals. Two big outcomes, peeps. What are the two things we got on the roadmap plan for today?
Well, first, we have to talk about what motivates a client to want to actually refer their friends and family to a mortgage pro, right? And the key word there is we want to get our clients to want to do it, right? I think sometimes, without the right strategies and without the right mindset, we can sometimes kind of feel like asking referrals is kind of pushy. It doesn't feel right. So we have to really look at what motivates a person, i.e., a person that we're doing business with, to want to send folks to you. That's the key word there, want. Second, we're going to talk about implementing a very simple 4-step process that you all can implement into your business to earn more referral business. And this is a great place to say what Mike and I say in most of our trainings that we do together is, one, we're not real big on semantics. You may think you may have a way that you want to say something differently than the examples we'll give you today. And we're all about that. We always ask people that join our trainings to try to not read too much into the words that we're using and to really grab onto the things that we're talking about from a conceptual basis so that you can take it and make it your own. So with that said, Mike, let's get going. Let's roll.
Yeah, let's do some engagement here. So we're going to have you guys respond in the chat. Ian is in the house. He's producing here for us. So he's going to turn on chat and we're going to go through the following question. We'd like to know from your perspective, okay, no wrong answers. Why do you believe that salespeople justify not asking for referrals?
A great question. Why
You
do
touched on
people
a
in the
little bit of this
sales
already.
profession justify not doing it? Embarrassed. I think that's totally honest, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Awkward. I agree. I've worked with thousands of sales professionals, right? It's one of the most common things I hear people say. It feels awkward, peeps. Feels awkward, bud. You know,
Yeah.
fear of the no, afraid of rejection. One thing I think I saw earlier is I've heard salespeople tell me, Mike, that we don't want to damage the relationship we have with this person.
Yeah.
We're worried about somehow hurting that relationship in some way. Impersonal makes them feel like another number. Totally honest thought. Appreciate that.
Ooh,
All
tied
kinds
with
of
the
great
pride.
thoughts today.
Yeah. Sometimes, people think too, like, hey, the work's going to speak for itself. Um, and there's nothing wrong with that mindset, especially if that's your pride point inside of your business is delivering incredible client service. But we do know that process has to meet with those things that you're talking about. And everyone has a different reason, but I think that we hit on damn near all of them, peeps. Some people don't know how. There's lack of confidence. They feel pushy, could hurt the relationship, don't want to look needy, not sure that they could provide value. You say this all the time, Tips. You talk about being referable.
Yeah, somebody actually just put in the Q&A. I just answered a question about that. Like somebody said, if you do a good job, they'll probably send people to you. And I was like, agreed!
Yeah.
Exclamation point, right?
Yes.
And I think that's kind of rule number one. You know, to have a sustainable, flourishing referral business, you really must first consider yourself referable. You have to give that client an experience that warrants you saying that about your own process, your own experience.
Yeah. Well, one of the common themes here, just like anything that we talk about when it comes to sales philosophy, is it you have to be very, very focused on the process. And we're going to bring in a tool for success here because the tool, as it relates to both working in a referral process and for pretty much every sales tactic that you're using, is consistency. I want to make it crystal clear. There's no silver bullets when obtaining referrals. We're going to outline a valuable process that can help you grow referral business. But just like it says in the title, this is all in numbers and conversion. And fundamentally, the key to any process is going to be consistency. Now, peeps, your idea here. Why is consistency so important in a sales process from your perspective? You
Well,
think differently to me.
it's anything, right? And it's not even just sales. I think it's anything in general. Like if you want results with something, you have to have consistency, right? If you want to look at a larger percentage of your clients' credit reports this year, you're going to need to ask more consistently to do that. If you see what I mean? Like with anything, if you want more follow-up business, you've got to make more phone calls, right? It's a consistency factor. And I think sometimes, Mike, um, We only ask for referrals with, a small percentage of our clients, the ones that we feel really, really good about. And that's the reason we don't get a solid stream of revenue into our business from referral channel, is because we're only asking 1 out of every 8 clients or 1 out of every 10 clients. And like anything else in sales, right? Just looking at it quite logically, it's a numbers game, right?
Hmm.
The more times that you ask, the more consistently you put it into your client process, the more results that you will get. So again, if we only ask 2 out of 10 times, you can expect that type of result over the course of the year. You're going to get 20% of what somebody who asks 10 out of times is going to get out of a referral process.
Yeah. Well, we're going
And
to take
Mike, one more
this.
thing, one more thing.
Go.
And I think it's important. I think it is, because with referrals, I don't want anybody leaving our talk today thinking that, like, if you go implement the 4 steps that we'll give you, you're going to have a flourishing referral business in the next 30 days, because that's just not realistic. A referral business is going to take time. It's not just consistency, Mike. It's time, right? I know plenty of mortgage professionals that have been in the business for multiple years, but never focused on a referral channel. It was always just take the leads, let's buy them online, so on and so forth, right? Well, it takes them a couple of more years to really get that referral channel going. So keep that in mind. It's not just consistency, it's investing your time consistently. For, if I'm building a business plan, Mike, I'm building a referral business plan maybe over 3 or 5 years, not over the course of a few months. I'm going to maintain my business course over an extended period of time.
Yeah. We're getting a lot of messages too, people sharing. I know there's
Yeah.
folks that have referral business that are going to be sharing their thoughts as well, and we welcome that. Um, One thing to think about too, we're going to kind of flip this on its head. So we're going to go back to the chat and ask you guys to respond to a question, but let's look at it through a different lens, so to speak. Let's talk about it from the client's perspective. Now, the question that we want to know from your perspective and your experience, why might clients not feel comfortable referring? Look at it from the client's eyes. Why would your client potentially not feel comfortable referring someone? And peeps, we talk about this all the time.
Yeah. From the client's perspective. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they had a bad experience. They don't want to obligate a friend. I hear you, Tony. You know what I mean? There's even an expression, friends and business don't mix, right? It's a very common expression. So not surprised to see you say that, because it's real. You know what I mean? They think that we're too busy. We don't need a referral. They have to go out on a limb and take initiative. That's totally honest.
Yeah.
If you didn't do a good job, you're not then referable. That's going to have a lot to do with it. Totally awesome response there. Yeah, somebody mentioned that finances and friends, right? Like, Mike, you and I were talking about that, right? Like, Mike and I, believe it or not, we hang out sometimes outside of work and we talk about things that don't have to do with mortgages sometimes, right? But Mike and I were joking. Like, I asked Mike, how many times have you and I talked about who our credit cards are with? You know what I mean? Is that what
Yeah.
we're talking about while we're watching the game? No. You know what I mean? Like, to the point made. So all these thoughts are good. We want to get these things out into the open so that we can acknowledge them and then provide the tools to help alleviate that.
Definitely. There's a lot of folks that are even commenting, like, people do like to refer. They like to say that they have the person, like, hey, you know what? I have a guy, I have a gal. But as we're transitioning from this, I'd like for you to think about this. We must focus on what we can control. So the client experience, just like we were talking about before, and educating, a lot of times people don't know what makes a good referral. So focusing on, like, who makes a good referral. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about who makes a good referral now. And we'll go into this because this can help educate the client and create confidence within the client of, like, oh, okay, I know who. It's like the same thing of saying, peeps, go search the internet, and there's so wide how
Right.
many things you could do. You're like, for what? It's too much potentially. So if you narrow it down, it could really, really help. So asking the client referrals, I mean, that really can be unclear. Let's try to make it clear for the client as to, like, who makes a good candidate for a referral. And to do that, we're going to talk about both sides of our business, both transaction sides, refinance, purchase. But let's dig into that, peeps. Let's talk about who makes a good referral. I'll have you speak here to this first one. To renters.
Mhm.
You want to speak about the why on talking to people about renting and people that rent?
Sure, sure, sure. I mean, well, one, I've been reading the news. I read the news every day. You know what I mean? One of the most common things that I'm reading about is rent prices are rising, right? There's a rent crisis. Mike, I was trying to help my dad. He's retired. You know what I mean? He's 66 years old and thinking about selling his place and getting an apartment. And I was like, I'll help you poke around, see what we can find. You know what I mean? I was like, whoa, man, it is not 2009 anymore. You know what I mean? My goodness, I was looking at studios for $1,200 in Cleveland. Like, isn't that San Francisco? You know what I'm saying? Like, no knock on my hometown, but for real. You know what I'm saying? Like, what does that tell us as well? That tells us that that person has an opportunity. And I don't know about you, Mike, but I like to help my friends and family. What about you?
Totally.
If I
Everybody
feel
likes to
like,
be the person.
right,
Like,
if I feel like I'm helping out my friends and family, I'm way more likely to refer, right?
mhm.
And that's the way I always look at it. I always try to, I think it's no, it's a Beatles tune, isn't it? A little help from your friends.
Yeah,
Or is it Joe Cocker? I think they both did the tune. But that's the way I try to look at referrals, right? I always try to frame it from a place of help. And if I have a renter in my circle of friends and it comes up in conversation, which it does, hey, why is that? And then here's the punchline, folks. Renting comes up in conversation all the time. Think about it. You see somebody you
yeah.
haven't seen in a while. What are the top three questions? What are you doing these days? Where are you living? Do you have any kids? Do you see what I mean? You're going to figure out if a person's renting, what they're doing in everyday conversation, which makes it easy for that person to go identify that thing. Mike, if you could back up to the other screen real quick,
Yeah.
I want to bring that visual back, right? Like I see a lot of salespeople when they're trying to find referrals, they ask, "Hey, you know, it was great. I hope you had a great experience with me. Who do you know that might want to purchase or refinance a home?" I I don't know. You see how that I don't know.
Not clear.
It doesn't help me find what I'm looking for, right? So that's why we got to put these lenses on, right? We want our clients, hey, why don't you go out there? Why don't you keep your eyes open for anybody in your circle of friends that's still renting? You see what I mean? That's going to be somebody who's going to help you find that referral. There's a reason for it. Next one, Mike.
Yeah, so I think sticking with the idea, and this is fun because it's unscripted. When you're
Right.
saying like the most common things people will often say like, "Hey, what are you doing? Where are you living? And do you have kids?" Like those are so natural to come up, in every conversation. From a kind of making things clear again for the client, people that are looking at purchasing a vacation or investment property, and the why
Mm-hmm.
there is again, we say this all the time: birds of a feather flock together. You're going to
Correct.
have human beings that are looking at purchasing a home. Typically, how did they get down there? A friend had a home down there. They went down there. I really like it down
Oh,
there,
you should
wherever that
use
may be.
my person. Do you see what I
Yeah,
mean? Like it's coming up naturally, right? This is where we're going to find these high percentage of referral clients because there's a good, solid foundational why or what's in it for them. There's a real tangible reason for them to help their friends. I
yeah.
can help you with this. You see, a renter, I can help you with that. Oh my gosh, you're looking to get a vacation property too. I can help you with that. See how the word is help? When help is aligned with what's happening, that's usually going to be your most referable client or the
And we're
client with
gonna
the most referrals.
we're going to come back to something else that you had said, like the help aspect,
Yeah,
because I
yeah.
think that that's a big piece, is that oftentimes the client wants to help, but then there's no visibility or no confirmation that help actually took place, and it can be awkward. But before
Hmm.
we do that, we've actually got folks that are already putting into the chat to us. They're thinking of already this third piece. So do you want to
It's
talk a little bit
great.
about life changes?
Yeah,
They're
because
on it.
again, somebody, but thank you to the folks putting the comments in because you're right there with us. But people talk about, when we get together for the holidays coming up here in November, right? Thanksgiving, you know, what are the most common things we talk about? Oh my gosh, Mike so and so is getting married. Did you know that? Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, did you know Susie's having another baby? Yep, and coming here in March, right? Oh, Timmy's finally going to be a senior this year. He's the last year of high school. See, these are things. I'm retiring finally.
Yeah.
27 years at the school system. These are the things that our clients can find if we help them put the right lenses on. And I hate to be cheesy, but it's true, right?
Yeah.
A client can't find something if they don't know what it is they're looking for. Does that make sense? So again, I know I mentioned it's not about semantics, but in this case it is, right? If you're asking your clients, hey, let me know who I can help if they need to purchase or refinance, they're probably not going to find what you're looking for because you're not giving them the direction they need to look in the right places.
Yeah, totally. The fourth one that it seems again a low-lying fruit is when you're speaking to people, and so many people are doing home remodeling.
Hmm.
That's easy because it's again, it's one of those things that people have the conversations all the time. Peeps, when you and I get together, if we're talking about you doing the kitchen over,
Right.
or changing the doors in your house and giving it a completely different
I showed
aesthetic
it to
feel
you when
to
you came. It was like the first thing I showed you.
it. Yeah.
I was like,
But
dude, here's the doors I was telling you about. Do you see what I mean? That's what I'm
it's
saying.
a it's an authentic thing that people talk about all the time. So all of these kind of transpose to agent relationships as well, because people are typically looking at homes, they're looking at remodeling, they're changing homes because they have life changes, or they're
Hmm.
looking at purchasing a vacation home or an investment property, or they're helping out those folks that are tired of getting crushed by the changes in rent.
Right.
So all of these
A
kind of
couple
tie
more,
back.
couple more just to get the group thinking, Mike, right?
Yeah,
Um, Veterans, right? I'll ask you all just to say yes in your minds. How many of you all know a veteran or somebody in the service right now? I bet you almost all of you are nodding your
yep,
heads right now. Do you see what I mean? Like if you happen to offer VA loans in your product lineup, then that's something you can tell your clients, hey, you know what? I don't didn't know if you know this, but if you have any veterans in your family, that's somebody that I'd love to help. Again, look at how I'm going back to the word help, and that happened completely naturally, right? If you're asking for referrals, it needs to come from that position. I want to help you. I want to help your friends and family, and I want to give you the direction you need to feel good about it.
yep. Now we've talked about like the idea, and I'm good. I wear glasses, so making it clear that to me is a really good start to helping a client and not having them feel overwhelmed with like I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of people, but I don't know who's looking for
Mm-hmm.
financing. Have them focus on the right things. Who do you know in your peer group or in your friend group or your colleagues that is going through life? Now let's flip that over. We've already had this in the chat a little bit. I'm going to ask you guys another question here. There's no wrong answers because everyone has their own philosophy on the process, but we'd like to know from you your thoughts on when is it best to ask for referrals.
Mm-hmm.
I saw one comment come in that was like listed out all of the places where you can ask for referrals. I was like, man, all right, at every step. Thank you, Stacy.
Anytime. I like that, Chris. There's going to be different schools of thought here, and Mike, we expect that. We think that's cool.
Yeah,
When
we
you prove
absolutely
that
will.
you've done a great job, that's again, Edward, I think you and I are probably aligned, right? But that's the beautiful thing about sales is there's certainly always going to be more than one strategic approach that works. What works for me may not work for Mike. You know what I mean? So I love that we're seeing this. Anytime you see an opening, I like that. Right after closing, if they're happy, again, awesome. All good responses. But
Yeah.
there's a specific reason we asked this question, Mike.
Right, we're going to go over a four-step referral process that
Mm-hmm.
has a theme to it. And one of the things I'll foreshadow is that I love different sales minds, even you and I peeps, like we
Mm-hmm.
have different thoughts on different elements of this. But we're going to go through this with you now, and we're going to ask you to just consider thinking about how you run your business and where there's an opportunity potentially for you to continue to build your referral business. So we're going to go over the four-step referral process, and it has a theme. It's got a theme of
Right.
like a farming theme, right? The first step would be planting the referral seed with permission. Then we would be watering the referral seed, right? We're looking to grow a relationship effectively, harvesting the referrals, then cultivating the referral soil. And there's elements to all of that that we've already spoken to, but we're going to give you some context. And again, we don't believe in semantics. You got to sound like you,
Right.
but everything is rooted in what's taking place within the interactions with your clients. So let's start with step one, planting the referral seed.
One quick thing, Mike, and I think
Yeah.
this is something that might be worthy of having folks write down. Building a referral business is a process. It's not an event. Building a referral
Yeah.
business is a process. It is not an event. And a lot of the content we got today, Mike and I talked to some of the most successful referral bankers that we've encountered in our career to get a lot of these ideas and different strategies and things that we're talking about. So just keep that in the back of your mind.
Totally. As we're going through this, and you're going to, again, you're going to see just like whenever Peeps does an example, it's not going to read exactly like the way it is in the screen. And that's actually by design because it has to be natural. It has to be you, but you'll have it visually in front of you. But you'll have it visually in front of you. So we're going to go over the four-step referral process that has a theme. It's got a theme of like a farming theme, right? The first step would be planting the referral seed with permission. Then we would be watering the referral soil. And there's elements to all of that that we've already spoken to, but we're going to give you some context. And again, we don't believe in semantics. You got to sound like you, but I'll actually put it up there right now, and then I'll give you an example of what that could sound like. So if Peeps was my client, I might say something like, you know what, Peeps, I work with a lot of clients all the time. Not all of them are actually coming to me where I have not been referred to them. So this is an exciting opportunity for me, Peeps. I'm going to go through, and my number one goal is to make sure that you have an incredible experience. My hope is that by doing that, I would also have your great experience and have you on board with being an advocate for me and my business. So if I do a great job for you with this mortgage and helping the family out, would you be open to referring me to others?
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. Now, folks, Mike, I told you this when we ran this the other day. I like this a lot. It's very, for lack of better term, it's soft. You know what I mean? It's not presumptuous. It's not, Mike, who do you know right now that I can do a mortgage for? And I think that's important because this is typically the first step in the process. And I'll say it one more time. Building a sustainable and flourishing referral business, you got to look at it like a process, not an event. And I think you need to look at it as a process with each client, right? Here's what I do first. Here's what I do second. Here's what I do third. Here's what I do fourth, right? And I like this because if I do a great job, Mike, would you be willing to refer some folks to me? Why do I like that question? Because you're going to find one of two things will happen there. What are they,
Yeah.
Mike?
People are going to feel like the onus is on me effectively to
Right.
deliver a great experience for you. So okay. And then there's that aspect of humanizing, like I'm
Mm-hmm.
asking you for permission for something, where
Right.
a lot of times there's a lot of control in our industry where it's like, let me take control of the conversation. We're creating dialogue.
Right. The other thing, Mike, is I used to ask that same question. Hey, I know I just met, but if I do a great job before I get this loan closed, would you be willing to send me some referrals of your friends and family? What I
Yeah.
found is they're like, sure, or actually, yeah, why don't you call my cousin? He's interested right now.
It does happen. Just like somebody said in the comments, there are people
Right.
that love to be the
Right.
person that provides the value.
But my
So
point here, Mike, is I found that this client service approach, this permission, this asking for permission, this soft delivery. If I do a good job later, would you have someone? If they do have someone, they'll give it to you now, from my
mm,
experience. And it's a way of not being, again, too pushy or presumptuous and still getting an ask for a referral in early in your client process.
Sorry, guys. Slight technical difficulties.
In your client process.
yeah. So again, it's done up front, early in the conversation, early in a relationship. It can be easily woven into someone that's actually been referred to as well.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to make it your own. Moving into step two, we say water the referral seed, and in all actuality, it's just like everything that we're talking about. It's more than just a conversation. It's a process. It's not an event. It's a process.
Mm-hmm.
So going through the process, I think it's incredibly important to engage with the client and have a deeper discussion. So it could sound something like this. I'll put it up there in front of you again. It's probably not going to sound like the way that it reads, because I want it to sound like me. So Peeps, we were talking before, main objective is ensuring that you have a great experience and that you're open to becoming an advocate for the business. Now, I have to ask you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you with your experience thus far with me?
Pretty good. I probably like an 8. I was a little frustrated that I had to send that document over again, but other than that, everything's going pretty good.
All right, wonderful. Well, I mean, listen, I'm always looking to close the gap and making sure that you have that incredible experience.
Mm-hmm.
So even creating the conversation with you right now, understanding like what's going to be things that are important to you, like the documents, I'll make sure that we're really crossing all the T's up front. And if there's something that we need from you, that we let you know sooner rather than
Right.
later. But again, the goal is to get that closer to a 10.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll work on my end of communicating at an incredibly high level to ensure you have a great experience. Does that sound good?
Yeah. Again, this is going to occur somewhere in the middle of your client process.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And again, just chronologically, and you can decide what words you use. I want to remind the group, we're just giving you examples. You know what I
Yes.
mean? But I like this. And, you know, if I learn my client as a 6 or a 5 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10, like I showed you in my example here, as a salesperson, I personally look at that as an opportunity. That's a good thing. As a salesperson myself, I've found that some of the clients that have sent me the most referrals are clients that were at a 7 that I took to a 10. You know what I mean? Because I've impressed them. They've appreciated that I heard them, that I listened to them, that I changed their experience and was willing to take, receive, and implement feedback. So I know a lot of people are like, what if your client says a 4? Good. I want to
I think
find
that
that
that's
out
positive
now.
too.
I
Yeah,
want to
that's
figure
good
out
positive
what's
feedback.
wrong now because I have a chance to fix it, repair it, and create someone who's not going to send referrals and turn it into somebody who might. You know what I mean? So I think that's important. It's important to make sure, don't guess, know how your client feels about their experience somewhere in the middle of the process. It's going to help you make sure, not guess, that you know where your client's at with how they feel about you, the experience, and everything going so far. If there is anything wrong, don't let that scare you. Look at it as an opportunity to personally bring them up to that 10. And that's how you're going to continue to see them. You know what? I like the way that person did that for me. Somebody asked me a question earlier in the Q&A directed just to us. Somebody said something to the effect of, I'm struggling to find things to differentiate myself from other places out there to be referable. Well, I would say this is one of them. Being the one that overly communicates, being the client service, being the one that calls 3 times to get a message through to someone. That could be your diff. So
Yeah,
anyway.
it really is. It really is you. I will finish with the human side because we talk about this with sliding scale questions all the time. The thing about sliding scale questions is people by nature don't want to be mean. Some people can, but most people have a kind heart. So when somebody tells you that, like, I am feeling, about an 8, it's probably not an 8. It's probably a 7 or a 6. So
Because they're being polite.
yeah, they're trying to create that relationship with you and not be hurtful.
Right.
But I would recommend digging in a little bit
Mike,
more to find out.
I got your boys off the cuff. It's just what I do. Okay. Look, Mike, I stepped out. This is a true story. Saturday, I had to run out for a couple of errands. I stopped at the gas station to get gas. My battery died in my car. Guess what I didn't have in my pocket? My phone. Guess what else I didn't have in my pocket? My AAA card to get someone to come help me. So it was an absolute disaster. But at any rate, I finally got the AAA guy to come out, right? And he's asking me, did I get here quick enough? How do you feel about the service so far? He was just getting started. You know what I mean? And the whole time, like even when he finished, if you get a survey, I want you to know that I care about you. That person and what they chose to do impacted the way I felt. It made me want to re-up with AAA next year because that person personally affected that decision. See what I mean? It's making me refer AAA to you right now unconsciously. You see what I mean? And that was totally unplanned. But again, taking someone from a bad experience or a one that's not starting off so good and turning it around for the positive is a surefire way to become referable. So take
Yeah,
it as an opportunity is what I'm saying.
we're getting a lot of folks in the chat that agree and say the same thing. Like that's
Yeah.
personally even been, if it's been your experience, then that's part of being a consumer,
Mm-hmm.
and being treated as though you are the most important piece. Let's move on to
Right.
step number 3.
Let's do it.
Harvesting the referral. Now, this one is one that is got to be open to interpretation. The reality is you're going to choose when to ask, but I kind of foreshadowed this one already, peeps, when I said, depending on how you operate, if you're doing this and you're going with the theme of planting the seed with permission and you're watering the seed, at some point, if you don't harvest the referral, then you're shooting yourself in the foot. It really has to be something that you ask. Now, it can be done this way, and then I'm going to ask you to weigh in with some of your thoughts on this too, peeps, and maybe a different perspective, but it could sound something very similar to this. Everyone has probably got a different idea of when it could take place. For me personally, clear to close, that's where I love when people are excited because it's like, all right, the finish line is in the sight, right? It could sound something like this. Peeps, congratulations. I know we've worked very diligently together as a team here, getting this thing to what we call clear to close, which means the finish line's right there. To solidify that you're having a great experience with me, I want to ask you, like, is there anything else that I can do to ensure you had an incredible experience?
No, Mike, honestly, it was phenomenal. I appreciate it very much.
Wonderful. Well, I mean, as you know, it's going to be something that I will continue to be here for you, be here for anyone that you refer your friends or family. I do want to know from your experience here, who else do you know that is renting, that is looking to buy their first home that I could give this great experience to?
I think my cousin Mike was actually just talking about it. He just graduated from school. I think he's looking to become a buyer. Can I email it over to you?
Totally. Is it going to work every time? No,
No,
no, we got to call that out again.
right.
And the reality is that you might say, I don't know, but now it's a little clearer that I'm
Right,
looking for people that are in a renting capacity.
right.
But I do want to get to your thoughts because
Yeah,
every process is different. And I want you to add.
I harvested a little bit differently. And some of you on the call might as well. Again, totally fine, right? Where you choose to do these 4 steps in your process is up to you. What words you choose to fill in the blanks is also up to you. I saw some awesome creative scripting coming in the chat, so I can, awesome, roll with that stuff. It works, It's about the process. It's about consistency. That's what it's about more than the semantics or where it goes. So keep that in mind. But to that point, Mike, there's more than one school of thought, right? I used to harvest a little differently. So what I did, and feel free to take my best practice, is I would call my client on closing day and I would make that call only about congratulating them. That is it. I would not ask for referrals on that call. And the reason that I didn't is because I lived by a rule. Whatever I was calling about was the main thing. And I kept it the main thing. An old leader of mine used to say to me all the time, always keep the main thing the main thing. You can write that down. Always keep the main thing the main thing. If you're calling to congratulate your client, make it about congratulating your client. Call back 3 or 4, 5, 6 days later, then ask for the referral. And the reason is I try to put myself in my client's shoes sometimes. You know what I mean? If I've got a salesperson who's calling me and saying, hey, great news, you closed today. Did everything go great? Awesome. Awesome. Do you have anybody that might want to refinance their purchase right now? Y'all see how that could take the dynamic of that congratulations and the authenticity of it and kind of hurt it a little bit? It could hurt its credibility. So my school of thought is be genuine. Call your client when they close or when they've reached clear to close. Make that about genuinely being grateful for their business. Make it genuinely about congratulating them on their new home, and save asking for the referral strategically for 3, 4, 5 days later. Let them get into the new home. Let them sink into the dream that they just accomplished. Then call about the main thing, the referral, later on. I found tremendous success implementing that process, and I implore you to try the same. Keep the main thing the main thing. I think you'll get better results.
Yeah, you're getting two different perspectives too, and that's one thing that I do love about sales philosophy. I operated my business out of this referral process. Don't forget, there's one more step, arguably the most important step, but just having the different perspective. That was always my why on when to do it at clear to close.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're walking away from this slide going, all right, at the end of the day, whether you keep the main thing, and then you do that 3 days later, 6 days later, 48 hours later, whatever is your case, as long as you're actually doing it. Because going
Mm-hmm.
back to the reason why people don't ask for referrals, a lot of that has to do with the fact that it's not muscle memory. It's not a part of your process. So you have to do it consistently,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to commit to actually asking. Once you've asked, and let's assume that I did talk to cousin Mike, and there's this element now, peeps, where you've referred somebody. I became referable to you. You referred your cousin Mike to me, and there's the scenario where you can feel like I'm disconnected. I don't know what happened. I want to help, but I'm not sure, what came about with my referral. So we're going to talk now about step 4, which is really entailed in cultivating the referral soil. So
Right.
remember, If I was a person that I got a referral from Mr. Rob Peoples, he referred his cousin Mike. It's at this point that after I close, I can do all of those other things. The visual in front of you shows an individual writing a thank you card. There's also a cell phone in the picture. Some
Text.
clients you communicate via text. Some clients you're going to hand write old school, write a note to. Sometimes, and there's coffee there. Sometimes maybe you sit down. If you're in a local environment, you might meet a client for coffee. But at the end of the day, when we say cultivate referral soil, we mean continue to evolve the relationship and thank the client, show them that you're there. This is getting in front of the client. I think people should refer to this like small business marketing is you have to, your brand, you have to be in front of your clients.
Right.
What would you like to add to that?
I think text is underutilized. Maybe not, but I think so. I think about text, right? When I get a text, I'm the person that doesn't delete emails though. You know what I mean? Like my Gmail's got 60,493 unread emails. No joke. Like
I'm terrible.
I make people crazy. Same thing with my texts. You know what I mean? Like I don't delete them all. Like what I'll do is like once every few months, I'll go through and I'll swipe them all, the ones that I don't want. You know what I mean? And I like text because once that person has that text, it's in their phone, right? And they'll go back through and they'll scroll through, or if they're with their friends, oh my gosh, I do know somebody. Let me find that text. You see
Yeah.
what I mean? And I think that if you're not using text regularly, it could be a nice inch for you to add to your business. But you know, the main thing here, Mike, is sometimes I think salespeople, we forget to take care of the person that sent the referral to us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we've got to, with equal emphasis, service the person who sent us the referral the same way we service the new person we're dealing with, the referral themselves. Can you talk to the group a little bit about that?
Yeah, so what we're getting at is the idea, and I refer to that as like closing the loop, doubling back with somebody and letting them know where it stands.
Yeah.
If this happened, so in this exact scenario, you referred your cousin Mike to me, and then you're going to see your cousin Mike at turkey time.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be awkward for you if you don't know what happened, if you're not in
Correct.
the loop as to like what about. So when we talk about cultivating referral soil, it absolutely has so much to do with taking the person that is the referrer and closing the loop with them. It can sound something as simple as this. Um, Peeps, you know what? I had the pleasure of talking to your cousin Mike. What a great experience. Had no idea that he is as into history as you are.
Yeah.
So I was blown away by that. But after a great conversation with your cousin Mike, he is actually in a spot right now where we're going to be focusing over the course of the next year or so, really getting him out of that rent situation and having him own his first home. And he does want to stay in the local Cleveland area as well. So I'm happy to report that after speaking with Mike, that we're going to be staying close to helping him just like we helped you. We want to continue to do that. So please continue to contact me if you have any questions, you know, or any other family members that are looking to do anything like from the renting scenarios, or if they're looking to changes. You nailed it. When we said like who would make a good referral, you nailed it, peeps, with your cousin Mike. So thank you again for your
Right.
business.
Now, why is Mike doing this? Mike is doing this because Mike understands a very basic marketing principle, right? A person who sends you one referral will send you another. A person that sends you another will send you another and another and another, as long as they feel like you are taking care of them, that you are keeping them in the loop. And I think sometimes salespeople look at referrals as I'll get a referral from this person, then I'll get a referral from this person, and I'll get a referral from this person. We have to look at referrals as exponential. Okay.
Yeah.
One person can send you 20 referrals in a year if you take care of it. Seriously. If you have one person that sends you one referral, that is the person you should be sending thank you cards to. That is the person you should be sending a Halloween card to. You see what I mean, Mike? When someone sends you someone, take care of them. Call them and every time you talk to that new client, you talk to the person that referred you to him as well. That's the way I would look at it. Because if you take care of them, they'll keep that business coming for years and years and years and years to come. Now, I get that piece of advice straight from some of the State Farm agents that Mike and I have worked with over the course of the year, some of our insurance professionals, right? It's a relationship. If I take care of you and make sure I keep taking care of you, you'll keep sending people to me. And that's the essence of referrals.
Totally. As we're going through this again, we want to make sure that we're crystal clear. Please look at these things as like, hey, where is our potential improvement for my business and my referral network? It is a process. It is not an event. And process can always use tune-ups to make them more efficient. So peeps, let's do a quick review and then we'll open up the Q&A for everyone. First question that we have, what is the tool for success when implementing a referral process? Peeps, you and I talked about this: consistency, 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 doing something several times to where it's muscle memory.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 here, step 1 is to plant the referral seed with permission, is how we dub that, and the engagement and talking to a client, and really setting that up front, that if I give you a great experience, are you willing to be an advocate for my business?
That's the way I finished every first interaction I ever had as a mortgage professional, because I'm not exaggerating. 1 out of 10, 1 out of 15 times, I got to actually, yeah, I do. You know what I mean? And if I was talking to 130 clients a month, look at the numbers on that. You know what I mean? So don't underestimate that simple, polite, with permission. It can yield business right now.
Yeah. When we look at question number 3, this goes back again to making things clear. And we did the visual of putting the glasses on, making things clear. So in Rob's case, he said that he knows another person that's renting, his cousin Mike. So renters, people that are buying second homes or investment properties, people that are experiencing life changes,
right.
kids going to college, retirement coming up, remodeling taking place. That makes things so much clearer for a client, and they can kind of conceptualize, oh, okay, I know that because I'm having conversations again, like you said, peeps. What are you doing? Where are you living? And do you have kids, or what's going on with the family? That's what people talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Last question here. Will every client provide referral business to you? And peeps,
Nope.
we know this one. It's not going to be. This is not a silver bullet, but it's based on the premise, like you said, of people can become an incredible referral source if you're continuously cultivating the soil with them, following up with them, and making sure that you keep your brand in front of them. What
And
would you like to add?
taking care of those clients that send them to you.
Yeah.
Taking care of them, cultivating it, continuing to, you know what I mean, till it. So sticking with the farm theme, doing the best I can. I'm certainly from the city and not the farm, but doing the best I can.
So we had a couple of questions that came.
Okay, guys, that will conclude our rooms for today. I hope you guys took away some interesting information. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to us here at Loan Desk Mortgage and Radius, the brokerage as well. Are there any questions right now for anyone? No?
No, all right. Well, thank you everyone so much for joining us today. We have our weekly loan desk session every Tuesday now at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard. So we will see you guys again next week. We've got some exciting content next week. The lovely Alicia will be presenting on understanding assumable loans and second mortgages. So that one is going to be incredibly valuable. So I hope to see you all there, and I hope everyone has a great rest of their week. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.